I guess.
Actually, I think there is a Chinese team at one point that all had their name be letters of the alphabet. So it was like X, M, S, and T, and then like an A. And those were their in-game call signs, so that everything was a single syllable.
Hell yeah. No, it seems very efficient. I like it. It would probably be really annoying as a caster, but you know, I like it.
In fact, it tripped casters up constantly, especially when Chinese teams were forced to team swap for international events because of visa issues.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have like a real name and then just X.
I love the trends in international names for esports players, because like Chinese players will just be like a collection of random English letters, and Korean players just pick like some like very mundane English word, and that's like their name now.
Like Nesty, who picked Nesty because he happened to have a can of Nesty on the go.
Like Park.
Like he was never sponsored by Nesty.
Yeah, so many cool things with it. Yeah, we're casting this game right now. Kind of just shooting the breeze, hanging out. HasuObs is playing in North America to get ready for the Heroes Hearth Community Clash League, which will be played very soon.
Pick up Zarya because Rutzou played her so well. Like,
it honestly wouldn't surprise me. You know, show them the power of it. And what I'm really amazed by is his ability to be effective on Zeratul on 150 ping, because what does that mean? He's like in his preferred server.
Oh yeah, there's some like real mechanical gods on EU that are actually just insane.
I'm just casting Kaiberries. I'm not on any of these teams.
Korea, like Reset. Watching Reset when he plays on Korea.
Gifted
like
Korean mechanical players. I'm finding this a little bit hard to believe, Kev. Sorry, Justin. Mr. Foster.
Zarya has no role. Can't solo. Can't tank. Can't DPS. Zarya is a hybrid hero who can half support, do 75% of a DPS's damage, more if the enemy team mispositions and gives her optimal carries, and has a heroic that can straight up split fights in half. But she can't tank.
Yep.
She's solely the flex hero in a draft.
Expulsion can be peel. Expulsion can peel people. Like it can push people into your team. It's nuts.
So like, but most people have no idea how to play Zarya, and when people see Zarya, they don't realize she has to be drafted as the flex. So it really constrains your draft because you have to have offlane, tank, support, range, Zarya. Right? She only fits in that one slot. Technically, you can tank Zarya with a Maiev, but it's really hard.
Yeah, because it's so easy to overlap your shields and just run into major problems.
Noblesse, back in 2017 Chinese Gold League, did tank Zarya with a Maiev and just destroyed people with it, and then we never saw the comp ever again. And it's just too hard to play.
And there were a lot of issues over the years with people like running teams that were just too hard to play, even in HGC. I remember you talking about that one player who was supposed to be on Tempo Storm, but was not able to be pulling it off, so he was their coach. Who was that again?
It's Sway.
Yeah, and he tried to draft teams for Tempo Storm, but they couldn't pull them off. They were just too challenging to actually execute.
Yeah. So for those people that don't know, Som, after Midseason Brawl, quit Tempo Storm to go into Fortnite professional gaming. And there's a 6-month region lock for competitive HOTS. So Swoy had to live in the US for 6 months before he could be on Tempo Storm as a player, and Blizzard didn't allow an exception, but Swoy was literally already here in the US because Tempo Storm thought that the exception had been granted or would be granted. And so Swoy took over as the team's coach temporarily, and primarily what he did was draft for them, and Tempo Storm went on a huge losing streak with Swoy drafts because Swoy was drafting in a style that Tempo Storm couldn't execute. Not that the drafts were bad, although some of them were really bad, but it was a style that they couldn't necessarily execute.
And then I believe this also led to some issues with Kala as their coach, because didn't he have his hand in that deal for Swoy?
Yeah. So Kalo thought that it was going to be okay, and like he was the point person for contact with Blizzard. So he said there was miscommunication with Blizzard. I think to some degree some of the players like put it on him because he's the point person regardless if his communication was on Blizzard's end or his end. It was his fault. That's how some of them felt. And he took a step back from coaching Tempo Storm to be the manager of the team and the content creator. But even as like, there's a little bit of a trust issue going forward.
I gotta say, I'm not really a fan of this red side draft right here. I feel like their macro game is very weak, and that can be exploited by the very strong macro game of the blue side.
Yeah, every time I see Thrall as an offlane, I question it. Just because Thrall's a very strong hero, but he doesn't do what you would normally trust an offlaner to do. Post 13, I'm assuming they're going to have Junkrat clearing lanes.
With Ripper Air.
Yep. With Ripper Air for the semi-global, and then Brightwing will have an actual global. So like post 13, this seems fine, because Diablo and Thrall can just roam, and Tracer can roam around together. Junkrat can be there a little bit late, but not too late, and Brightwing can come in whenever.
I want to say it also wouldn't surprise me if we see Rutzou take a trip to the top lane and take advantage of Thrall offlane's strong weakness to getting rotated on. And that could cause some major problems with them, as they're not really able to cover the macro game at that point, and we start to see camp invades and a huge snowball.
Both teams have dive comps. Tracer's not really a dive hero. A lot of people play Tracer like a dive hero, but I wouldn't describe Tracer as a dive hero.
I wouldn't say she's exclusively dive. I'd say she can fit in a dive comp, and she can dive, and people play her way too much as dive and think of her as exclusively dive, and that's absolutely not the case. Tracer, in my opinion, her defining trait is her mobility, obviously, and that means that she trades into melee heroes better than just about anybody else in the game, and so you're able to abuse comps with free melee hit targets in games where you're playing that style. If you're playing like just everybody burst one target, then that's different, obviously, but outside of that, the default thing you should be doing is abusing heroes who cannot trade back into you well, typically melee heroes or very skill shot based heroes like Chromie or Kel'Thas.
So this is going to be Naish's Memento at 1 on Maiev. Whenever we see Naish's Memento at 1 on Maiev, we're assuming the Maiev is going to be doing Merc camps. That's part of why you take the talent. It is also good on team fights and on shrines. Also, this is Rutzou on Maiev, and Q resets actually reset slightly slower on ping because of lockstep netcoding. So Rutzou physically cannot get as many Qs out as a low ping Maiev. So it's something to keep an eye out. If you see him doing less Qs, like on massive clumps, than you might otherwise. Oh, he actually goes for the full there. Wow. I would not have done that. Okay.
Well, are you Rutzou?
Pretty ballsy. I am not. So there you go. The Tyler Olsen, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Are we just gonna?
We do see two in the top lane onto Blaze right now. BBJ making a rotation onto HasuObs. Jet propulsion blocked by the aggressive positioning. Overall, just some poke value going on. I'm not sure I really understand this play.
So this is I actually kind of like this. This is a 3-2 split. So you have the support, who is also the global, and Thrall top lane, because Thrall can't really win a lane on his own, and he's always going to be gankable. But with the Brightwing constantly keeping him at full health and denying the pressure, they can actually pressure really well. And anytime someone gets low in the 4-man, Brightwing can Z in, as just happened, and then go back top lane. Meanwhile, Junkrat is enough wave clear for 4-man, and Tracer is barely, I would say barely enough damage to be doing camps while Junkrat gets the waves. But now they're forcing Thrall to double soak because they're fiesting in the bot lane, and Thrall can't do that.
He absolutely will get punished by that, although he was able to do some decent damage to Mokka in mid lane, so not getting wrecked on it right away at least, but he's missing an entire top wave.
Yeah, HasuObs is going to interrupt rotation here. That's 3 minions missed, at least 4.
No jet propulsion from HasuObs there is a bit of a surprise. I think that would have forced Liam to miss 5 minions.
Yeah, Hasu could have delayed that for far longer. It would have been really good. But you can already see it in the experience. It's 7.4k to 7.1k, and it's 4.9k to 4.7k in minions. So most of that gap, it's just minions. A little bit on the Merc side, but mostly it's minions. Getting bottom camp also catapulted blue side a little bit far ahead in experience.
Blue team also hopping on their bruisers a little bit ahead of red side right now, but both teams want to take their bruiser camp a little bit later, so that it's pushing during this first objective, and it's pushing behind a minion wave if possible.
I don't know if Greenhammer's meta. Rolling Thunder was buffed, but it does a lot of percent-based damage, and when you're talking about Thrall, unless you can dive the backline, you're hitting frontliners, and it's like 4 frontliners, because it's Maiev, Greymane's going to dive in, Blaze, etc. Percent-based damage is good into all of those heroes. And and you actually are going to be able to auto them. So
the lane priority on this mid lane from the blue side right now will allow them to set up and get vision control early. Hold on a second. Red side heavy rotation onto Mokka and bot lane. There's no way he can escape from this. Pulse Bomb lands. He's doing what he can to get out, but there's only so much. And that's a red side kill, getting first blood.
Even just the delay there is technically useful. The longer he delays them, the longer they can't rotate his 5 to potentially contest the shrine. Although I don't think red team should try to contest the shrine at all, honestly.
Absolutely. Their shrine clear outside of Junkrat is abysmal, and they're already in the bottom lane. Why not get some push pressure and just accept what you can get off that? Lauber also interrupting rotations down from the blue team, trying to buy his team as much time as possible for the siege.
HasuObs is down here. He'll be able to clear this relatively easily. Doesn't manage to catch anyone with the oils. And meanwhile, Brightwing and Global continuing to de-push top lane. Doesn't quite end up getting the tower, but there's been very little miss-soak from red team, even though they have lost the objective. And they also still have the only kill of the game, so we'll have to see how this continues as it goes on.
Did they let Tracer bait it over the wall? Lauber electing to do it instead. Maybe Marlow not trusting himself to bait the Punisher over the wall on his European ping. But if you're able to pull it off and it only takes one blink, you can completely avoid all damage and the stun, making it 100% safe. Oh, hold on a second. Red team going in. Pulse Bomb onto a full health Kure with 25 armor. Not going to do much, but Mokka dropping very low. Marlow got to be thinking about it. Never mind, both teams going to back off.
That's a good example of the percent-based damage from Rolling Thunder coming into play right there. I don't think Liam had the Ancestral Rastax ready to go, but if he popped it, he may have actually managed to kill him. It would have been very close, and it would have been 1 or 2 more Qs from like a Junkrat or something. But we are going to see Brightwing with the reveal. The reveal is also very helpful when you're taking a camp, because it immediately reveals all the bushes when you phase shift in, so you're like, I know we're not doing that.
Ooh, Thrall's not at this fight right now. 5 members of blue side, and they've got to give it up.
Man, that boop would have secured the camp if Marlow had just stayed on the point long enough for the boop to go, but he was not confident that he was going to be okay. And Lauber ends up going down. And again, Thrall cannot double soak, so now Thrall's stuck double soaking.
You know, every time... Yeah, Thrall doesn't have the macro pressure to deal with that. But every time I see Lauber, I just think about, where's he going to go in the draft? A lot of people have projected him to be the #1 pick, but you know, there's just so many different factors to consider. He's got the tank presence, which is kind of limited. He's a shot caller, he's a drafter, he's a good communicator, but he's got that European ping to worry about. I don't know, what do you think about it? Do you have a first pick in mind?
I definitely think Lauber is going to be one of the first picks, like top 4. And it's just going to come down to which orgs end up getting picked. Because, like, let's say there's an NA org, and the orgs get random ordered on their picks. It's really important to acknowledge that. So let's say there's one NA org that already has a team that they know they want to have and no European players. Lauber's not getting first picked. He's just not. But if that same org gets 8th, and then, you know, Lauber may end up being first picked. So we really need to know the orgs that are going to get selected and who from those orgs is going to be picking the teams before we can start speculating about who's a first pick potential.
And that will be announced.
Relationships are going to factor in. It's going to be announced in 5 days, the 11th.
And then players can sign up before the 15th.
You actually can trade draft picks. Each team gets 2 trades.
Yep. And I did ask about multi-team trades, so such as a 3-way trade, not an option. Hold on a second, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Apocalypse combo, Pulse Bomb doesn't land. Lots of blue members dropping very low. Rutzou getting chased down by Marlow. Riptire actually gets killed before able to detonate. And Rutzou's gonna be fine. Mokka walking away. Red side actually getting pushed away now. Surprisingly no deaths.
Yeah, with a little bit more Tracer scaling, that would have been a kill. I do feel like Red's going to have the better team fight in the very, very late game, and they've managed to maintain...
Hold on a second. Mokka getting caught out. Beautiful concussion mine. Actually, I was going to say maybe saves him, but Marlow's there for the catch. Please continue.
Ooh. I was going to say Red team has better team fight, and they've managed to stay relatively even on macro, so they're not getting ahead. They're not falling behind in experience. And as the game goes on, they get to 16 versus 16, Tracer scaling, and simply the impact of Thrall's heroics in fights is gonna push the win for them, I think. Eventually, if they can keep this up.
Still only 3 kills so far total in this 8-minute game. When some of these games I've played in have been absolute bloodbaths. Red side already up almost 20 Guardians. Mokka pulling up from the top lane. Want to see what happens right here.
I almost don't like the fact that blue team's even here. Like, I think red team has to make a mistake to lose the shrine at this point, but they are a little overextended.
Ooh, Kure so low!
Yeah, he's going down.
Finished off by Liam, and now Riptire dodged by Rutzou, and still getting run down by Marlow. Ooh, the Lauber CC, stopping him from taking that Shade of Vengeance to escape. Jet Propulsion is completely blocked off, and Marlow actually jumping out to finish off Mokka on the bot side, trying to get that finished off. Concussion Mine does not push HasuObs away. Jet Propulsion unable to be finished, and another Concussion Mine, thanks to Boom Pow, is going to bring out Deckard. 5-man team wipe, no deaths from red. Huge.
So that's one of those things as a caster, you're like, I'm really glad that team got a five-man wiped and validated what I said about them not wanting to be there, because I don't think they could win the shrine unless red team makes a mistake, and they end up getting 5-man wiped.
And it's
meanwhile, Junkrat is already globaling down to get the bottom soak. Brightwing could leave to get mid, and still be available for the fight. They're getting the pre-push in, so they finish to get the entire fort down before they even get the Punisher. This is going to start to pressure keep wall.
I do want to point out, Junkrat's got Boom Pow at 4, CDR when he hits enemies. He's got Ripper Air at 13, CDR when he hits himself. No matter what, concussion mines all over the place. Lots of ults being traded back and forth. BBJ is going to be okay. Ooh, a stun onto Kure, actually going to probably get him killed. There he goes. He drops down. And what a time to get caught out right there as Junkrat is macroing out of his mind. Rutzou able to take his Shade of Vengeance. They're going to be okay, and they're going to have to defend this one at keep.
Fighting into Punisher without a wall was very surprising to me. I did not expect Kure to do that.
And I gotta say, you were validated in that Junkrat is now the offlaner with Ripper Air. Perhaps some stream sniping going on. Maybe they didn't think to do that, but they heard the stream and they're like, wow, that was a good idea. That is what I choose to believe.
It's so funny to watch Junkrat do the camp right below them as they're doing this mid push. They decided they would not be able to get the top keep, so they're just like, we'll just get mid fort instead. And they're getting so much experience. Oh, and the concussion mine misses, so it's actually gonna have a full CD. Rip.
Rip. You're supposed to be spamming these. Come on, Ultralisk. It always takes me a second to remember who Guess Who I Am is. Level 16 advantage, not quite here for red team. You give this camp every time. Let blue team have it. They know you don't want to fight. You know you don't want to fight. Go and collect that 16 advantage, then look to exert some pressure from there.
So blue bruisers are up in a minute 8. Their bruisers are up. Red team's bruisers are up now. I think they want to get 16 and get their bruisers and maybe time them out. I don't know if they want to take them right away and then potentially push bottom so that they can maybe enemy team can be responding on top. Meanwhile, they get bottom. The next Punisher is middle, so finishing off mid fort somehow would also be really good for them. But it looks like they're just looks like they're just pushing up waves, checking the camp, and otherwise chilling out.
Marlow just kind of standing around in lane. I feel like he needs to be in vision, looking for a pickoff, looking for disruptions. Red side now putting their eyes onto this bottom fort, possibly considering a dive. With their advantage, Brightwing ready to global in. Blaze is in top lane. And it does not look like that's going to be a kill just yet.
BJ really wanted that Z to be like a split second later, so it could
have hold on a second. Deckard just getting flipped over.
What? What was that positioning from June? June just dies after getting juggled. And a 3-man mock, maybe something could be happening here. The cage, though, and even with the ping, the resets on my FQ are doing a ton of damage here. Rutzou does end up going down 2 for 2, and the fight continues.
Okay. Concussion mine knocking a few heroes back. Lauber's gonna die, so is Greymane, Diablo, Greymane. And right now, 3 for 3, I believe, on the kills, or everybody, I think, died at some point. I don't know, man. I was just kind of watching and struggling to follow along. If I couldn't follow it, I don't know how the players could. So instead of following along, I'm just going to go ahead and tap through everybody and flame anybody that still has Medallion up. And that would be Deckard. Deckard has Medallion up. This fight started by him getting caught out. Maiev's got Medallion. Brightwing's got Medallion. Junkrat's got Medallion. And Tracer's got Medallion. That's right, June. What are you doing?
It's gonna be the new caster flame when CCL starts. After every team fight, people are gonna go through and see if you use Medallion or not. Just flame you if you died to Z. I hadn't even thought about doing that. That's a really good idea.
Both sides on their bruiser camp right now. Full level lead being enjoyed by red side, and neither heal camp or neither healing fountain available for either team here. Still anybody's game going into this middle objective, but blue side gonna get a bit of an early lead on the Shrine Clear.
And you can see how desperate they are to sort of get on the objective. They know they're better on the objective. Earthquake wasn't up for 9 seconds. What I was about to say was the other team kind of wants to wait for the Earthquake to be back up so that they can have some control over the Shrine.
Well, they've got about another 44 seconds until it's back up.
One more wave cleared bottom would actually get them bottom fort. It looks like they're still going to fight for the objective. I don't know if even delaying this is worth it. It seems extremely risky with all the slows. That's going to be a peeling Riptire to prevent Lauber. Oh, Cage in the back actually does catch two people. BBJ walks into the wall twice. And no follow-up. Rutzou probably didn't call that on comms. That's the only reason I can imagine not following up on such a strong Cage.
Lauber's moving forward aggressively, got the Z in from BBJ. Blue team just peacing out. They're going to go ahead and clear this top lane, pushing in, and they know they have plenty of time to walk back up. Actually, not plenty of time. Red team's going through this pretty fast, but blue team is still going to go back in and try to push this in before Thrall gets here. Kure getting booped in, criterize everything on him. Good lord. Full spam, 25 armor though. He's going to be okay. And I think that was a Ruby actually popping his health port back up. That is indeed, despite the nerf on CD. Mosh pit onto Diablo, cursed bullet yet again, deleting Lauber, and Rutzou running away at the moment. Mokka finds himself in deep. Maiev gonna go down 1-for-1 trade so far. Ooh, and I think that's it. Oh no, the stun!
He walked into the Punisher. He should have just gone down. He would have been fine. This is a Frozen Punisher, so with a 4-man push into a 3-man D, they can absolutely get minimum the keep wall here. 25 seconds till Diablo's back up. I think there's a realistic chance that they actually get the keep, and I like the killing on the sidewall here so they can actually come in and follow up the jump, but they're not quite able to get Liam. I actually wish that Riptire had been saved to clear the wave, because the wave is going to do an incredible amount of damage coming up here, especially if the enemy team can poke. So that when the buildings are active, they're actually leaving. 4 seconds left on Diablo, they decide to just go straight for bottom fort. And I kind of respect it. Like, this is safer by far than the alternative play of trying to get that keep.
So there's one thing that I want to point out for the chat, and it's that specifically from Mokka's Greymane, he's using Cursed Bullet in that last fight 2 times. He used it exactly how you want to do it, in conjunction with your tanks engaged to help your team focus down one burst target, rather than using it as a poke tool every 30 seconds. You're using it in conjunction with your team, and it just makes killing people so much easier. That's how you should be using it.
I'm confused. I thought that I was supposed to spam all my buttons on cooldown for maximum stats on the scoreboard. Well, I was sure that was the right way.
You were the HGC coach out of the 2 of us, so I will defer to your wisdom here. Cavalier Guest said it. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. Tune into the Nexus Schoolhouse to find out how to spam your abilities on cooldown even better, and you too may be Grandmaster one day.
And then you just back every time you're out of mana. Like,
yeah, of course. Yeah, I see all the good mouth players do it.
Oh, Invisible Friends at level 20, by the way. So Lauber can now hang out stealth and truly invisible in bushes as a Diablo. You can see the ping, the danger ping from Kure. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some deep flanks here with Lauber on this.
I will say that seeing a lot of Brightwing pressure in these in-houses so far, which I think has been heavily popularized by Valimar, who particularly has been spamming Brightwing on ladder recently, it's been Invisible Friends every single game. It's just absolutely been very impactful. It's extra sustain healing in your team. It takes them completely off of the minimap. It lets you set up wherever you want. You basically create a bush anywhere on the map. If you're trying to kill someone and auto-attack them and Brightwing blink heals onto them, suddenly you can't see them to auto-attack them. They can be right in front of you, 5% health, but you can't finish them. So definitely, in my experience, extremely tilting to play against.
Definitely. And I mean, as a global, I feel like Brightwing is somewhat underutilized in general, just because the ability to, you know, be soaking a lane. It's not like you have to clear it. Your towers will clear it for you, especially once the engine gets catapulted, you can like deep freeze a lane. She can be really good at getting an experience advantage in the mid game, and then still be available for fights, because you don't really have to come in until after damage is done. Whereas other globals, they kind of want to come in early and do damage, like a Falstad, like a Dahaka.
So
do you like Safety Death plus Fairy Protector or not? I really like the increased healing at level 13, because you put the E on someone and then you blink to them, and it's a lot of extra healing. if you blink yield to them.
Yeah, ERR is basically an ancestral right there, and then they also have spell armor. It's pretty nuts.
But I would call Pixie Power my second favorite of the 13s.
Is that the extra armor?
Yeah.
I figured.
Reduce cooldown plus more armor.
Yeah, I just want to point out, oh, hold on a second. Riptire popped very aggressively from Guess Who I Am, aka Ultralisk. And that's the poking tire, I guess.
That's he's only doing that because it's a level 25 extra oomph.
Oh,
so
yeah, I totally forgot.
Faster than other people would normally expect it to be back. It's going to be back in 6 seconds,
yep.
technically. So they're going to constantly try to hit clumps and just do it over and over and over again.
You can tell I haven't played Junkrat in a few days.
Gets it again.
Oh, he only hit one target with that one, I think. Oh, hold on a second. Huge mosh pit onto this red side tour bus even. Stay a while and listen. Does get the Apocalypse off, though. Bunker to dodge some of it. Hellgate on to June, but Lauber is finding himself in a lot of struggle here. Blue side trying to chase them down, up 5v4, and I think at this point, oh, hold on a second. Kure getting knocked in. Face melt away. Very advantageous side for the blue team now. 5v4 with Punisher pushing out. Hold on a second, Hasu! Red team's gonna get away.
I'm really surprised that fight. The Thrall did not Earthquake early, and he ended up being the focus target. Liam caught out of position in 2 fights now, where he did not get Earthquake off. And in this case, level 20 Earthquake is a game, like a fight-winning heroic with all the increased healing that it does.
And I gotta say, I wonder if it's almost like Storm League syndrome a bit. Liam thinking that he's got to carry. I remember in CCL, he had a similar issue. His team heavily favored to win the finals. And in a lot of crucial moments as his Zeratul just gets caught out in the late game trying to make plays. You've got Thrall, you've got Earth and Shield post 20. It's crucial that your team gets those AoE shields as Diablo gets farmed at the moment. But
Punisher cooldown is back up. There's no indicator for Punisher cooldown, but good players will actually start tracking it. And Rutzou immediately went in when Punisher was up, pulled ETC into the jump range, and then the Punisher essentially followed up on the pull.
But absolutely, I think that we're starting to see Ultralisk jumping in on Mokka. I think that we're starting to see some consistent player personalities play out over my time of watching CCL, of watching Inhouses, and playing in these games and hearing the comms, really getting some strong pictures of each player's tendencies. And I'm seeing a lot of that confirmed right here. Hold on a second. Concussion Mine interrupting Mosh Pit as red team chases blue team right on out of the base. HasuObs now dropping very low. Kure, not likely. Actually, he's going to get away, I think, just fine, but June...
No, Guess Who I Am is coming for him.
Hold on a second. Tracer started to go towards mid, but actually changed her mind and now is going towards June. I think I would play for the stagger in this position, honestly.
Don't kill him. Don't kill him. Don't kill him.
June is never getting out of that. You can kill him as late as you want.
You could literally stand there and just dance and kill him 60 seconds from now when the rest of his team is rezzing, and then their support is dead and they can't 5v5.
Mm-hmm. If he tries to run away, you let him run and then you finish him off just before he gets back. And there's no way that the enemy team for the rest of this game should be able to take a 5-on-5.
I do like that combo Mercy only. I just don't know if it's the best combo. It just depends on like the draft. It's really hard to say what the best healer build is because it depends on how you're going to play the comp and what you're up against. Like, do you need sustain healing? Do you need burst healing? Do you need area healing? Do you need single target healing? Usually you draft supports for specific builds that you think do something better than other supports. But like you can't, there's no real substitute.
Can we just talk about this wave? Right here in mid lane. The catapult literally can't get in close enough to hit the keep because it was getting walled off by how many goddamn siege camps they had. Absolutely insane. You were talking and I just heard noise because I was just so infatuated by how big this mid wave was.
I will say that I haven't seen a lot of people take Boom Pow, but Boom Pow seems really exceptional in the ETC because you're actually always going to have the concussion mine up for Mosh Interrupt, and Mosh doesn't have a cooldown now, so it's really important to always have that Mosh Interrupt.
It's pretty critical for interrupting the power slide into face melt combo onto your teammates. Really just lets you peel your team quite often.
Yeah, splitting fights and knocking people like away, you can often put them in a bad position into Diablo in particular. So it actually really helps support Diablo's ability to get really good solid wall stuns.
I really like the point you're making there, because while you're being knocked back, at no point during the trajectory do you have any control over your position. So effectively, you're offering Diablo a wide selection of different angles to wallbang from.
Oh, are we gonna? Oh, he doesn't get on the point. He doesn't get on the point. It was really close. But we are gonna. They're really like. There's a massive bump from blue, whereas red is a very advantageous position, and blue realizes it immediately, and they just disengage. They don't want to fight in that choke.
I just want to point out that Marlow actually just looked at his talent build for the first time. 4 stacks of Untouchable, not Jumper for the mobility, instead opting to put out more damage. And Ricochet to combine with that for the multiplicative damage increase. Hold on a second. Kure getting just deleted. And
yeah, but
wow.
To stay and fight this. This is going to be going right down mid lane where there is no keep. So APOC, maybe? Rutzou trying to make something happen here, but again, he's not going to be doing as much damage as a normal Maiev player just because of ping. And June, not in the bunker, is getting focused, but managed to pick up a bunch of potions. Maybe he lives? No, there's no way. He ends up going down. Beautiful play. Check medallion.
All right, let's go check the list. ETC, no medallion. Deckard, medallion's up again. No medallion for Junkrat. Greymane did have a medallion. 3 out of 4 dead. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Blaze, no medallion. 3 out of 5 dead have medallion available.
But at least Kure died not having a medallion up. And we know it wasn't up because it's on a 24-second cooldown, so it was definitely used a while ago.
And guess who I am hitting that stanky leg in mid lane really fast? We're going in for the BM. We're going in for the end. And that's gonna be the end of this game right here.
Yeah, I think even if they had AFK'd, I don't think Kure alone could have defended from the wave plus the Punisher. So the fact that they're actually here hitting Core is gonna...
Yep. Kure just felt like adding 1 death to his stat column really fast before we see the conclusion of this game.
On cooldown. He used it before he died. So
he had to redeem his past mistakes. You're right. Yep. I appreciate the commitment to improvement. But on a very real note, Medallion has been proving to be very hard to adjust to for GM players, and I'm really wondering what that's going to be like for your average player, because after all, even if it's good for GM games, if average players don't like it because it's so hard to use, is this anomaly here to stay? Is it going to get dropped after a season like Weather? Just, it's been on my mind a lot. People keep asking me about it on my stream, and I just don't know.
I don't know. The advice I'm going to give people, because people are always going to ask, is use it like cleanse. Just like use it every time you see a CC and see, and then go back and like, was that effective? But the important thing is to get used to the muscle memory of pushing the button. Just bind it to something and push it on cooldown at first, like every time you're about to get CC'd, and worry about using it correctly later on. First thing to do is adjust to just having the button.
Mm-hmm. Because there's kind of this binary, you're either using it or you're not. And a lot of players are still in that not stage. And then once you are using it, you can work on toning it down.
Exactly. Which is exactly how people learn to use cleanse. It's how I learned to use cleanse. Like, I just cleansed on CD whenever someone was going to get CC'd, and eventually I learned to distinguish between good cleanses and bad cleanses. But I never had to worry about not using cleanse. If it was up, it got used.